everyone. I am Anchal Makhija.
Good morning. We just unmuted ourselves, so there was no response. Please continue.
Vinay, please mute yourself because Anchal is doing the introductions now. We are going live.
Am I audible?
Yes, Anchal, please start.
Good morning, everyone. I am Anchal Makhija, and on behalf of MOHAN Foundation and its patient support group Triumph, I welcome you all to this webinar on nutrition post-transplant for heart and lung recipients. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you our expert for a day, Ms. Pooja Lakhani. She is a certified nutritionist, former clinical dietitian with ICU and organ transplant at Apollo Hospital. We welcome you, Ms. Pooja. An organ transplant offers a second chance to a critically ill person coping with organ failure. However, having a transplant surgery alone is not sufficient. It is equally important to ensure that the transplanted organ is well taken care of. And one of the most important components of post-transplant care includes being aware of one's nutritional needs, knowing what foodstuff to avoid and what foodstuff to consume. So these pose a dilemma to recipients as well as the caregivers. Hence, we felt a strong need for such a webinar, particularly for the heart and lung transplant recipients and their caregivers. So now I hand over this forum to Ms. Pooja to begin. She will begin with share some valuable information on this topic, and thereafter the forum will be open for question and answer. We encourage you to list your queries and ask the expert, and we will take this session in the end. So I would request you to please mute yourself and raise the hand in the segment nearby. Also, those joining us live on Facebook and YouTube, you all can post your queries in the chat box. Over to you, Ms. Pooja, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Anchal. And I must share that I'm really excited to see so many people joining us on a Sunday morning. It's a leisure day, but we're all here excited and geared up to talk about how to, nurture the transplanted organ. I'll start sharing my screen. Is my screen visible? Can I get a heads up?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. So I welcome you all. We'll be discussing POSHAN, post heart and lung transplant. And it's going to be a lot of discussion, a lot of understanding about how we can simplify your nutritional needs and make you have an optimal nutrition on the go. So before I start, I would like all of you can post your answers in the chat box, or maybe, just unmute for once and tell us, does organ transplant restore body function like a pre-disease state? What do you think? If your heart, if the abnormality of the heart, if the lung has been taken care of and you have a new organ, you have a graft, do you think the body goes back to a pre-disease state? Pehle jaise the bilkul waise ho jayenge? What is your thought? Can we have some answers in the chat box? Or maybe just a little talking out there.
What do you mean by pre-disease state? You mean we are suffering from breathlessness, things like that, as we were during heart failure?
No, I mean, before you or anybody has unfortunately got a heart failure.
Yes.
So the way you were, do you think once you have undergone a transplant, your heart has been, replaced with a new heart, you go back to the pre-disease state, become exactly the same?
I would say almost, but it's a compromised life all the way, because you're always thinking of what to do, what not to do, and also get yourself tested many times because of immunosuppressants, and lots of checkups with doctors, echos. So I won't say exactly it's a pre-disease state, but yes, it's a healthier state you are able to do what you want to. You can work long hours, you can walk, run, exercise. I mean, but of course, again, you are worried about infections.
Right. Thank you. So that's quite a bit of where I was trying to, take our presentation. Only maybe I'll need a little technical help. My presentation is stuck and I'm not able to, working now. So the answer here is definitely no. It's not a pre-disease state. It is a new disease-free state, but definitely not same as pre-disease. And why we are saying this? Why are we actually talking about how, whether you go back to a pre-disease state or something? Why are we discussing this? We're discussing this because it's important to understand the way you know how your disease behaves when you're having the abnormality of heart and lung. At the same time, you should know how it will be when you've got a transplant. So first, let us see what is the difference. Now, the major difference over here is that the new heart and lung transplant requires immunosuppression to protect itself. Is the screen being interfered by the chat box? Can anyone tell me?
No, it's fine, Pooja.
Okay, because on my screen, I'm seeing the chat box. Sorry for that hassle. So I was saying that the biggest difference is this new heart and lung requires immunosuppression to protect itself. Secondly, now because our bodies are so well programmed and made up naturally in such an amazing way that it tries to adapt to every problem that comes across. So your body is used to retaining salt and water to help the weakened heart maintain blood pressure and a lot many other activities. So even with the new heart, or lung, it's not going to reverse altogether. It will still probably continue to retain salt and water for some time until the body knows that now this support is not required. By the time you get transplanted with various other symptoms, with medicines, gradually your appetite comes down. You have been eating less food for years together while you were waiting for the transplant. And then with this lesser food intake, there has been a significant muscle and fat mass loss. So if you look closely at the image over here, one is showing the normal chest and upper arm muscle, and the next image is showing how these muscles get weakened and you have a lower muscle mass. All this happens during the course while you're waiting for transplant. And because of this, now all these things are quite interrelated. We may not realize it on day-to-day basis, but if you look back and think about your pre-disease state and where you've reached now, you will probably be able to correlate. That first, your food intake comes down. Secondly, there's muscle and fat mass loss. And what comes out as a symptom is a very subtle symptom, is that physical capacity has reduced over the years due to loss of muscle and poor nutritional intake. So if you were able to walk easily around and do your regular physical activity, perform your professional commitments without any difficulty earlier, it may take some time in coming back to that very level after transplant, or maybe you'll have an altogether new threshold of your physical activity and exercises. And of course, there is still anxiety about how will post-transplant treatment work out. So accepting the disease, accepting an organ failure is one part of it. It takes a lot of effort from the patient itself as well as the family to accept that there is an end organ failure. Moving forward, once you've had a transplant, there is again a lot of dilemma, confusion, and anxiety, worry about, will this transplant be successful? Am I doing everything right? Am I going to go back to the same pre-disease state? How will my life be? How will my professional commitments fulfill? There's so much that each and every person and their family members who are, going through the transplant process experience and keep thinking of. We're discussing all this because coping up with transplant can be challenging. It's very, very important that you know the reality and you set up right expectations. It's pretty natural to think that now my problematic organ is gone, a new organ is there, and I should be back to normal. And trust me, people do really well. But the only, I would say, loop here is it takes some time. It takes a whole plethora of efforts from your side, caregivers, and your treating team to bring that state back. What can we do? Seeking support in these cases can help tackle these delicate issues. One thing which we are all doing already, and I must compliment MOHAN Foundation for creating such a beautiful initiative like Triumph, which is a support group for transplant patients. When you join a support group, you can talk about your worries, not only to healthcare experts, but to people who are on the same journey, who may join you in this journey. It takes away a lot of your worries and anxiety when you just talk out, about what you're feeling. Second is, of course, as I said, setting realistic goals and expectations and educating yourself and work on your individual improvement. A part of this entire discussion largely relates with our nutritional intervention, because nutrition is not just something which you can do for a day, for a month, for a year, and then maybe, leave it or not follow it. Nutrition or your exercise or physical activity is a lifestyle. It's a habit. It's a behavior that needs to be inculcated, nurtured, incorporated, and then maintained. It's not something you could do for a while and then leave it, which is why understanding all this, that if you put in so much effort of getting a transplant done, you need to nurture that very organ and follow the path that makes your quality of life better. Now we're going to talk largely about cardiac rehabilitation. Cardiac rehabilitation is a relatively newer concept, maybe a decade old or so, which is a comprehensive program to achieve holistic recovery post any open heart surgery. A well-conceptualized program would consist of routine follow-up with your physician and adjustment of medicines, which I think all of us do. We are so focused on visiting the doctor at the right time, adjusting our medicines, and sticking to those medication regimens. Nutritional assessment, care planning to optimize your nutritional state. Now, a lot of us are quite inquisitive about this part also, but how much effort we take, how much access we have, and how much are we able to really bring into practice makes a difference. Physical capacity assessment and engagement into suitable exercise regimen, alcohol and smoking cessation, psychological support with the help of a counselor, and support group meetings. Now, all this is a part of a well-conceptualized, well-established cardiac rehabilitation program. We will be talking in detail about nutritional assessment and care planning. And of course, we'll also touch upon a little about physical capacity engagement. Now, let's quickly jump on to the most focused part of this presentation, which is portion management post-transplant. Now, it largely has two, I would say, categories to it, or two important points. Of course, it's a whole plethora that we'll have to look at, keep managing, keep modifying, and achieve that optimal nutritional state. But if I have to define it in one statement, it's about maintaining a healthy weight. And the second important part of it is food safety and hygiene. We'll be touching upon these two largely. Now let's start with portion, what to eat and how much. Now, a lot of us actually know what to eat. While we are waiting for the transplant, while we are post-transplant, we keep talking to a lot of people, our healthcare experts. There is Dr. Google available all the time these days. So all of us largely know what to eat. But what makes a difference is how much. Are you, for example, if you have started consuming, say olive oil, And now all of us know olive oil is healthy, it has antioxidants, it's good for heart and all that stuff. But how much olive oil is, actually healthy? How much of it is required? And do you really even need it? What are ways that you should be using olive oil in? So that those details we'll be touching upon today. And of course, we'll make sure that most of your queries are answered. Now, this is the best pictorial representation of how your nutritional regimen should look like. It should have enough of colors, enough of dose of each food group, enough incorporation of the foods that you like as well. We'll begin with cereals first. Now, cereals or grains, they incorporate most of the energy that we derive from our food. So these are energy-giving foods. And as you can see that this plate incorporates at least 1/3 of the cereal. Now, what is recommended is, at least for adults, there should be at least 6 to 8 servings of cereals every day. Now, how much is one serving? One chapati is one serving. A cup of rice, a cup of cooked rice, which fits in your palm. When you make a cupped fist and it fits in your palm, is one serving. A medium-sized bread slice is one serving. If you're consuming, say, millets and all, then one ragi chapati, one bajra roti is one serving. So such 6 to 8 servings you should be consuming every day. Now, what all of us do, particularly in India, is towards North India, all of us eat a lot of wheat and wheat products. And towards the South, we eat a lot of rice and rice products. Somewhere we need to incorporate variety in the kind of grains that we are taking. For example, you could include jowar, ragi, bajra, oats, and these days the millets are quite a bit in fashion, so you could even include quinoa. What is important is every week you include at least 3 to 4 types of grains. So, for example, every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, you can make it a point that for your lunch or for your dinner, you will not consume wheat or rice, or maybe you will take a jowar roti, a bajra roti, or a ragi roti, or a dalia made out of these grains, anything. Make it a point that you're taking right doses and you're including enough variety. As I said, 1/3 of your plate should contain whole grains. Now, why are we stressing so much upon consumption of whole grains? Is because not only they provide energy, but in the Indian context, particularly on a vegetarian diet, these are a major source of fiber. So it's a very well-known fact that not a lot of us consume a lot of vegetables, fruits. We do not take it in the dosages and timings as we should. Taking whole grains incorporates a lot of fiber, iron, calcium, as well as B complex vitamins. So not only energy, all these components are also important when you're rotating the type of grains that you're taking and you're incorporating enough whole grains. What should we avoid? As a dietitian, I don't like to talk about things that you should avoid, but because that gives a sort of a feeling of deprivation. It makes you feel, oh, I can't eat this, that, ye bhi nahi khana, wo bhi nahi khana, khana kya hai? So I like to talk about what all you can eat and maybe just touch upon what all you should avoid. So you should definitely avoid refined flours, maida and maida se bane hue products, and simple sugars, which are often present in breads, biscuits, cookies, pastas, pastry, cakes. Now, Sayam will want to leave this discussion right away because this is what he loves. So that's where I say you need to avoid this. It's not a complete no-no. These can be things which you eat occasionally and limit the quantity, and we'll talk about that maybe during our discussion session. But yes, as much as you avoid refined flour products, it's better because it definitely has a lower nutritional value, and it works upon the weight gain, which it adds to the weight gain, which remains a constant worry post-transplant. For non-diabetic patients, 3 to 4 teaspoons of sugar is permitted. This is the sugar which you may want to add to your tea, coffee, your raita, your curd, anywhere. So this is free sugar which you can add. You should be cautious when you're purchasing ready-to-eat foods like cornflakes or maybe canned Tetra Pak juices or other breakfast cereals, and look for no sugar added options or no added sugar without added sugar. You should look for labels. Why I'm saying this, when you're non-diabetic, you're already adding sugar to your tea, coffee, curd and stuff. And then if you purchase cereals and ready-to-eat foods which have added sugar, that adds to the overall sugar intake and over a period of time may add to your weight gain. So it's important to read labels and look for no added sugar options when you're purchasing packaged food. Let's move to another important part, which I just briefly touched upon, which is fruits and vegetables. Again, including minimum 5 servings per day in cooked as well as raw form is recommended. Now, a lot of you must be thinking that fruits and vegetables तो कच्चा होता है, वो कैसे खाएंगे? मेरा potassium high है, can I eat this fruit, that vegetable? We discuss that going forward. So in this picture, as you can see, there are a lot of colors. But even if you're not able to add so many colors to your diet, it's recommended that every day you take at least 3 different colors of fruits and vegetables. Okay. Now, when I say 5 servings, what is 1 serving? So when you take 1 medium-sized apple, orange, banana, or a pear, that is 1 serving. When it is a larger fruit like watermelon, muskmelon, papaya, you could take 2 slices, or going more precise, you could take 8 to 10 pieces, that is 1 serving. When you consume a fruit juice, 150 ml is 1 serving. When you're taking salad or, vegetable and fruit mixed salad, 3 to 4 spoons is 1 serving. So it's important to know what to eat and how much. So for example, if you have to incorporate 5 servings of fruits every day, what you can do is with your breakfast, maybe you can take 1 small apple, pear, or it could be after your breakfast 1.5 later or so. With your lunch and dinner, you will definitely take a 1 katori cooked vegetable, both the meals, and you can add a fruit vegetable mix or a single vegetable salad, which is again a small katori that easily makes up your 5 a day. Why is it important? Is because not only these provide enough fiber, but majority of your minerals, majority of your B complex vitamins and other essential antioxidants have no other source in diet but these fruits and vegetables. Okay. About the neutropenic cleaning and hygiene part, we'll discuss in our forthcoming slides, but how much to take, what to eat, we've just discussed. Again, what we think is for a transplanted heart and lung, apple ज़्यादा अच्छा है क्या? Can I eat a mango? I love mangoes. People say that pineapple is not good for heart and lung. Should I avoid it? So the answer to this is no fruit or vegetable is better than the other. You should choose seasonal and local, whatever is accessible. Incorporate maximum colors and variety in your diet. There is no single fruit or vegetable which will help your heart. Okay, so you can easily consume whatever is seasonal and local. When you're, for those who are working and cannot do cutting chopping every day, or those who like canned fruits and vegetables as they can be easily stored, you need to check for the sugar and salt content. These are quite high in sugar and salt content. When you're purchasing canned fruits and vegetables, preferably buy the ones which have been preserved in their own stock, rather than added sugar and salt. This information with the new FSSAI laws should be clearly visible on the can. So you need to do a bit of reading when you're buying canned fruits and vegetables. Now, if your potassium levels are high, that is more than 5, a potassium level of 4 or 4.5 is generally good for the heart. So if only when you're going above 5 millimoles per liter, milli equivalents per liter, you need to restrict your dietary potassium a little bit. What you need to do is avoid taking a lot of raw vegetables. It's better to take cooked vegetables. For your salads, you can stick to cucumbers and carrots. And fruits, you can consume apple, papaya, pineapple, pear, and guava. These are just to name a few low potassium fruits. Now again, potassium restriction is something which is very, very transient. ऐसा नहीं है कि अगर 15th of May your potassium was 5, so for next 6 months or so you need to follow potassium restrictions. It is very, very transient. Whenever you get your potassium tested next, you can always liberalize the restrictions a little. हमेशा potassium कम रखना है ऐसा जरूरी नहीं है. Now fruit juices. A lot of us love fruit juices, and somehow I don't know kahan se aaya, but there is this notion that fruit juices are very healthy. So if you're unwell, you're sick, you can't eat food, at least juice to पी लो ताकत मिलेगी. Which is not true, but if you like fruit juices, हफ्ते में 2 से 3 बार you can take fruit juices. Preferably take homemade ones, and as soon as you squeeze the juice, consume immediately. If you're not having so much time and you like to take fruit juices, you can of course buy Tetra Pak juices, but choose the ones which are without added sugar. And again, one time you should not consume more than 150 ml, and the maximum you should take is 2 to 3 times per week and not more than that. Now, when talking about drug-nutrient interaction, so जब आप immune suppression medicines लेते हैं, there are some foods. Actually, Google पे you will get a lot of food. ये fruit, वो vegetable interacts with your tacrolimus and cyclosporin. That may not be true. There is some evidence that grapefruit is known to have an interaction with immunosuppressors and should be avoided. Grapefruit, and if you go towards south, there is star fruit available. These two fruits have been researched formally, and there are a few research papers and there is evidence that these may interact with immune suppressors, that is tacrolimus and cyclosporins. If you're taking that, you should be avoided. Now, this is the grapefruit that I'm talking about. आपको अंगूर खाना बंद नहीं करना है. Grapefruit is this fruit which looks like orange. When you cut, it is reddish, deep reddish to deep orange in color. I'm not talking about angur. Angur आप खा सकते हो अच्छे से wash करके. You can take. Grapefruit is different. Now let's come to the most talked about part when it comes to diet, that is protein. As you can see the highlighted parts of this plate, again protein roughly should have 1 to 1.5 serving in each time you're eating your main meal. Protein के sources क्या क्या हो सकते हैं? Pulses, legumes, lentils, beans, fish, egg, chicken, milk and milk products. ये सब आपके protein के sources हैं. I'm sure जब से heart issue या lung issue diagnose हुआ तब से लेकर अभी तक this will be like a jingle जो आपने सबसे ज्यादा सुना होगा. Now, talking about the dose of protein and understanding the dose of protein is very, very important. You need 1.2 to 1.5 gram protein per kg dry body weight. And we are talking about dry body weight जब तक आपका generalized edema कम नहीं हो जाता. Even surgery के बाद you will see that there will be pedal edema, पैरों में सूजन रहना, हाथों में सूजन रहना. So जब तक आपका that edema free state, close to edema free state नहीं आता, we will rely on your dry body weight. अगर आपका transplant होके बहुत समय हो गया and now you don't have edema, you can go by your ideal body weight. Now dry body weight, I'm sure आप में से सबको more or less पता होगा. Ideal body weight is your height in centimeter minus 100. So for example, if you're 170 centimeters tall, उसमें से 100 minus करेंगे तो 70 kg. Okay, 70 multiplied by 1.2 या 70 multiplied by 1.5 is your protein requirement. अभी इतना protein हमें क्यों चाहिए? That is A, because we have lost a lot of muscle, and जितना muscle at present post transplant you have, we want to preserve that. Further muscle loss can actually affect the function of your graft organ. So it's very, very important that we preserve the muscle mass which is there. And secondly, it is also required for wound healing and recovery and building up muscle mass and pushing you back to that, healthier state. Now, how can you achieve this 1.2 to 1.5? You need to include minimum 3 servings of high protein sources like eggs, fatty fish, lean chicken, legumes, lentils, pulses with 3 main meals. 3 main meals matlab breakfast, lunch, dinner, you should definitely have 1 to 1.5 serving of protein. How to achieve that? आपके breakfast के साथ में, if you are a non-vegetarian, include 1 egg per day. Egg yolk heart के लिए बुरा होता है, उसमें cholesterol होता है. No, you can eat 1 egg yolk every day, no problem. So if you're a non-vegetarian, as a medicine, by default, make it a rule to include 1 egg in your breakfast every day. If you're a vegetarian, what you can do is, if you're eating idli dosa, take a cup of sambar. If you're eating a paratha, eat with curd. If you're eating poha, upma and other stuff, you need to take a small katori of boiled moong, chana, chola. You can even start taking sprouts, but then processing of sprouts is a little something which you need to pay attention to. You need to boil them nicely and consume, prepare fresh and consume. So that is a bit of an effort from your side. If you're able to prepare, that's the best source. If not, you can take in boiled form. Okay, so this was about breakfast. Whenever you're taking your lunch, make sure you have a cup of dal. Any dal is fine. कोई भी ऐसा दाल नहीं है जो आपके heart and lung के लिए इस दाल से या उस दाल से ज्यादा अच्छे. Make sure you're taking a cup of dal. Okay, and a small katori of dahi. That again makes it 1.5 portion of protein, high protein source. And then you can also incorporate legumes. Legumes यानी कि आपका जितना whole grain होता है, जैसे कि चना, राजमा, छोला, वटाना. So again, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday आपके घर के rotational menu में fix रखिए कि आपको चना, छोला, राजमा कोई तो whole grain consume करना है. Okay, and again the same goes for your dinner. So like this, if you set up your eating pattern, eating menu, it gives you enough protein. There is some amount of protein which your grains also provide. So when you're taking wheat, ragi, jowar, bajra, उसमें से भी body को protein मिलता है. We don't count the protein that comes from vegetables and fruits. Again, another rich source of protein are your nuts and oilseeds. So almonds, walnuts, pistachios, flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, chia seeds, all these you can incorporate in your diet. Now what happens is, some people feel it in the mid-morning, some people feel those hunger pangs in the evening. So what you can do is, आपके वो भूख के time पे you can consume a fistful of nuts, जिसमें easily 5-6 बादाम, 3-4 half walnuts के, maybe 2-3 pistachios, such mixed nuts, you can take it in the evening snack or in the mid-morning snack. They have a good amount of essential fatty acids, good protein content. They're a rich source of antioxidants also. So this makes it 1 more serving of protein. 3 आपने ले लिया अपने 3 टाइम के खाने में, 1 nuts का serving लिया, that makes it 4. And then comes your milk and milk products. So सुबह में morning में milk लिया या evening में milk लिया, आप जो दोनों समय के साथ खाने के साथ में curd ले रहे हैं, you should also incorporate paneer in your diet at least twice a week. That's a high biological value protein and adds a variety also to your diet. Now, milk and milk products are not only a good source of protein, they are a very good source of calcium. So you must incorporate that. Again, for those who are vegetarians and don't consume even egg, can start incorporating more of soy and soy-based products, soy milk, tofu, or even preparing soya beans, soya chunks, soya granules, and adding it to your diet in snack or as sabzis and main courses helps providing a lot of protein. So if you have incorporated and well planned your diet in advance, it's a very good activity to plan your 7-day menu and invest some time in it. आप जब अपना Sunday grocery shopping करने जाते हैं, अगर आपका menu set है, it not only helps in getting these right foods on table, but it also prevents that unnecessary shopping. So for example, there are health claims like a biscuit that is high in fiber, a biscuit that is high in protein, some atta that is high in protein, some oil that will prevent your heart disease. ये सब unnecessary shopping भी prevent होगा, plus you will be able to well plan your menu and needs. Now let's quickly go to fats and oils. Fats and oils again are predominant, provide a majority of calories that you require. Up to 30% of your calories can come from fats. Now, when it comes to heart transplant, particularly, a lot of us are scared of oil and fat, which is quite understood because you directly relate fats and oils with your heart health. But even though restriction is required, you don't have to go completely fat free or oil free. So bina tel ka sabzi, bina tadke ka dal and all that is not required. Some amount of good quality fat is required for your body function to maintain, and also for your heart health to be maintained. So you can include vegetable oils like sunflower, rice bran, soybean, groundnut, and olive in rotation. Now, what do I mean by rotation? For example, if you purchase sunflower oil this month, next time when you're going for your oil purchase, you can choose rice bran. Next to that, you can choose soybean, and then groundnut, and then come back to sunflower. Okay, so when you keep switching your oils like this, it gives you a balance of all kinds of essential fatty acids, and it adds a variety to your diet. Whatever food group we are discussing today, an important element is to add a lot of variety, because there is no superfood. अगर आप हमेशा oats खाते रहेंगे and आपका heart healthy रहेगा, that's not the truth. Only when you add a lot of variety and try to gain benefits, I would say unique benefits from all kind of food groups, is where your body will have maximum benefit. Now, there's a little thing you need to understand about olive oil, because again, olive oil is believed to help a lot in heart health. What needs to be done is, when you're purchasing olive oil, you need to be very, very careful of the cooking time. You cannot cook olive oil for too long. It, particularly Indian kind of cooking, it destroys the antioxidants and other vital properties. So if you purchased a virgin or extra virgin olive oil, you need to save it for your salad dressing, for sauteing your vegetables, or just consuming as it is. If it is a pomace variety, maybe you can do a light bit of cooking at lower temperatures. But cooking olive oil for too long may not give you the benefits that you're expecting and what it could give otherwise. Up to 20 to 25 ml, 4 to 5 teaspoons of oil can be consumed every day. Now, if I say like this, roz chammach napna is very difficult. So per person, per month, 500 ml. If it is a family of two, then you need 1 liter of oil every month. If it is a family of 4, 2 liters. So simple mathematics. It prevents that 1-2 chammach ka roz napna. Okay. Now again, which oil is better? Can I eat ghee? Can I eat butter? Oh, I eat rice bran. Should I? But my colleague is taking sunflower. Which one is better? Oils that are liquid at room temperature. तो जैसे कि आपका तेल है, खाने वाला तेल, वो किचन में कभी भी जमता नहीं है किसी भी सीजन में. Those are better. You should consume oils that are liquid at room temperature. जो भी रूम टेम्परेचर पे भी जमा हुआ रहता है, जैसे बटर, मार्गरीन, घी, have relatively more of saturated fats and trans fats, and you should avoid that. But Indians होके हम घी कैसे नहीं खाएंगे? I'm saying avoid. You need to probably take 1 to 2 spoons whenever you're taking, and not more than that. And when you're taking those 1 to 2 spoons, make sure you adjust it with your oil. So oil तो हमने normal रखा, ऊपर से 1 to 2 spoons ghee add कर रहे हैं, may not be a good idea. If you eaten ghee wala paratha in morning, then you make sure your rest of the day's oil is adjusted. How often you can take it? Maybe again 2 to 3 times per week should be enough. You need to avoid deep fried. That's a strict no-no. Why we are saying this is because, of course, there is a tendency to gain weight post-transplant. You're on steroid medications, which further add to it. And again, it increases the caloric value of your meals to quite high. And so much of physical activity to balance it out is not possible all the time. You can rather use grilling, broiling, baking, or steaming techniques. Or nowadays, there are these fancy air fryers available, जिसमें you need to brush a little oil and then you can enjoy those delicacies which are otherwise deep fried. You could try that too. The whole idea is to A, restrict and limit the amount of oil you're taking. B, make sure you're rotating the kind of oil you're taking. As I said, cutting down oils completely is not advisable. Your body definitely needs some amount of fat also. Now we'll quickly come to the second part of the focus on portion discussion, which is safety and hygiene. There are 4 important parts of safety and hygiene, that is washing, separation, cooking, and chilling. What do we exactly mean when we say washing? So you have to wash hands, kitchen surfaces before and after preparing food. Acha, before we start all this, why are we talking about safety and hygiene so much? That is because post-transplant, you're on immunosuppressors. What these drugs do is they protect your heart. They prevent body from attacking this new organ. So हमारे body में जब भी कोई any element which enters, body has the capacity to identify it as outsider or an invader. When you transplant a new organ, that also is outsider or invader going by this law, and hence your immune system may attack it, and it's clear you need immune suppressant drugs. Okay. Now, when your immunity is low, your new organ is definitely protected. But what also comes as a complementary issue here is when your immunity is low, you're more prone to getting infection. So it's very, very important that you take care of the safety and hygiene part of food and water so that you don't get any foodborne or waterborne illness. That is why, apart from eating the right diet, taking care of the safety and hygiene of the diet is also very, very important. And hence we are talking about these 4 steps. So let's come back to cleaning. Cleaning, it's not simply, washing your hands. So you went to the kitchen, rinsed your hands in tap water, and that is done. Good hand washing is when you, wash your hands with warm water and soap for minimum 20 seconds, and try to rub not only your palm like this, but you clean the back of your hands, your nails, your thumb, and your wrist. Okay, so that is good hand washing, which you should do more often before and after preparation of food. You should wash dishes, countertops, utensils with hot soapy water. So for countertops and dishes, what you can do is, once the cleaning of utensils has been done by your maids and house help, whenever you are using those dishes or spoons or anything, you need to again run it through soapy water. All this is very, very important, at least for initial 6 months to 1 year, depending upon the immune suppressor dose that you're requiring. Once your immune suppressor doses have started coming down, there is a stable state of your immune suppressing medicine as well as response to the grafted organ, then maybe you can liberalize these steps a little. But for the initial 6 months to 1 year, this is very, very important. About fruits and vegetables, you need to, wash it under running tap water. Whatever has a thin skin, for example, apple, pear, and all of that, you need to remove skin and consume for initial 3 to 4 months. And again, once you've achieved a stable state, you can start consuming with skin. For thick skin fruits like oranges, like watermelons and all, of course, you'll remove and consume. Okay, so that is about cleaning. About separation, it is very, very important that you keep cooked and raw food separately, whether it is your kitchen counter, whether it is your grocery bag, whether it is your refrigerator, freezer, anywhere. Never ever you should be keeping raw and cooked food together. And this is particularly applicable for the ones who consume non-vegetarian foods in your diet. So keeping chicken, fish, eggs, and everything separated from dals, vegetables, fruits, and your vegetarian stuff or cooked stuff is very, very important. Okay, so that separation should come. You should have, these days you've got huge refrigerators with a lot of sections. The vegetable fruit sections are already separate. You should utilize that. and make sure there is a marking in your refrigerator so that no mixing is happening. So one section can be dedicated to milk and milk products like your milk, curd, paneer, and the other section could be dedicated to your cooked stuff. For example, if you've kept some dal or cooked vegetable, and then your fruits and vegetables, the raw ones, should be separate. Please make sure you do that, because this mixing can, for example, if your cooked dal or prepared food gets mixed with the syrups or certain fluids from raw vegetables and foods which has not been handled so far, then it does cross contamination. So take care of that. Third is cooking. Now, this actually doesn't apply to our Indian families, because we are anyways very much in love with cooking, and we already follow thorough cooking. But for the ones who like to minimally cook their food, it's important that your food reaches that temperature, that cooked temperature internally. Eating a semi-cooked food or so is not recommended. It's important to keep the food hot during serving. Finally comes chilling. Now, any food that you want to store should be refrigerated below 5 degrees or below. And as soon as you're back home from the market, meat, eggs, fish, other perishable foods, vegetables, stocks, anything should be refrigerated and chilled promptly. Do not leave it on your kitchen counters and then try to segregate and store them after a while. You should do it as soon as you're back home after your grocery shopping. Defrosting, very, very important. For example, if you're using what do I say? Say frozen corn or American sweet corn, and it usually stays in your freezer, and it is chilled under 5 degrees Celsius. You have to defrost it in the refrigerator only. So choose defrosting within refrigerator. This is a little difficult to do again and again, and that's why maybe you would not want to use frozen foods too much. But when you leave that frozen food on the kitchen top and let that ice melt, that defrosting, if it happens at room temperature, there is a chance that there can be bacterial inoculation and bacteria can grow over there. So defrosting within refrigerator. Once defrosting has happened, straight to cooking. This is about chilling. And this also brings us to the last section of my presentation today, which is physical activity. Now, it's very, very important. A lot of us have this general notion of taking a lot of rest. Heart transplant hua hai. Even in normal, disease states, we feel, aap to aaram karo. Aapko zyada stress nahi lena. You please lie down. Why are you sitting for so long? Why are you walking around? That's not the thing. When you've got your transplant done or in any disease state, there are many simple activities that you can include and you should do. What happens is, when you're not moving around, when you're leading, spending most of your time sitting at one place or lying down, that leads to something called as muscular dystrophy. That is, your muscles, they are the same in terms of the muscle mass, but they lose the muscle tone. Next to it, when you try to incorporate physical activities or try to do your regular chaos, you will feel that you're not able to do it and your capacity comes down. So don't let that happen. Of course, first and foremost thing is to have your doctor's permission. Your physician, your surgeon should allow you to start doing some physical activity. Some basic activities that you can do is, whenever you're getting out of bed every morning, stretch your arms and legs. Straight out of bed and going for your tea and all. In between, spend 5 to 10 minutes doing basic stretches. Climb 1 or 2 flights of stairs instead of taking the elevator. So if your flat is at 4th floor, 5th floor, maybe you can climb up to 3rd floor and then take the elevator if you're not very comfortable. Or maybe, take the elevator till the 3rd floor and then the rest of the 2 floors you can climb up. Incorporate a bit of movement, a bit of moving around whenever you have an opportunity. For example, when you're watching evening news or listening to music, or maybe not engaged in in something that requires a lot of attention, you can again continue some stretching, moving your head, legs like this, keeping your hands a little straight, making your back a little straight. All this adds a lot of value to your muscle health. Planning outing in a mall or park where you can walk enough or take breaks whenever needed. So you can just simply in the evening or so, if it's a hot weather like it is as of now in Mumbai, then go to malls. Malls are nicely air conditioned. You see a lot of people, you can meet people and take rest whenever you want. So that adds to the activity, plus it sort of adds to the recreation in indulgement and involvement. And of course, in good weather, you can go to parks and take regular walks or so. At work, now those who've resumed work, during your lunch breaks, after you've taken lunch, try to take a little walk, or maybe just try to stand for a while and not go back to your working seats immediately. Utilize opportunities to engage and help in light household activities. So, for example, putting the clothes for washing in a washing machine, drying those clothes, arranging your wardrobe, cutting vegetables, chopping vegetables, or even doing regular cooking. As far as you're not lifting heavy weights, you're not pushing heavy articles at your home, regular activities need not be restricted. Taking too much rest, being inclined to chair or bed so much will take a toll on your muscle health. It will bring down your working capacity drastically, which will take a lot of time to be restored. So it's very, very important that you're active, and even weight bearing exercises can be done, say at least I would say 8 to 10 weeks post transplant, but you need your doctor's advice. You need your doctor's permission to do that. I read a very beautiful quote in one of the articles that I was reading, and it said that post-transplant, come back to your life like an athlete or a sports person who's coming back after a break. There is this drive to win again. There is this drive to perform well again. Look at yourself as an overall, as if you're going to play an overall new innings. So transplant definitely is the beginning of a new life. I'm here and I'm very happy to say that let's join, let's nurture it to the fullest. It's very important that you enjoy this life, that you understand its value and add a lot of nourishment to it. Finally, you can join us in nurturing life post-transplant. After my time with Apollo, now I'm building a new venture, which is Poshan Mantra, and I'm very happy that MOHAN Foundation has given me this opportunity to bring to light a lot of value that good nutrition can add to this new life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. That was really an informative session. So now we will take few questions. Please raise your hands if you have questions. Till then, I'll ask the question from the chat box. So Vishnu ji asked, is it necessary to drink only boiled and cold water after 1 year, or is good potable water enough?
That's a valid question. So definitely you can take, if it's possible for you, take boiled and cold water. Otherwise, if you have a good quality water filter at home, that can do after 1 year. So you can take, no problem.
In addition to that, is something called alkaline water okay for the transplant patients?
No, there is no science behind these waters and these fancy products. Take your regular bichara ghar ka pani. That will do the needful.
Okay. So another question is from Poonam ji. She's saying, I'm consuming boiled water and at times bottled water. I want to go on trek. So how to manage at that time?
How much time has it been since you got your transplant done?
Poonam ji can answer how much how 8 years.
Oh, please go ahead. And I love the idea that you're thinking of going on trekking. I'm already excited. All the best.
Okay, so another question is from Rohit ji. He says, can we drink coffee?
Yes. So particularly when we talk about caffeine, whether you're taking green tea, you're taking tea, you're taking black tea, some other fancy beverage, up to 2 cups is fine. That is the amount of caffeine which is good for anybody, irrespective of the heart transplant or the conditions that we're talking about. 2 cups a day, any kind of caffeinated beverage.
So doesn't it increase like palpitations and blood pressure? So in that cases?
No. So for example, when you how do I say this? So for example, if you have lactose allergy, okay, there is some amount of lactose that you need to consume for that allergy to happen. So when I say 2 cups a day is acceptable, is because the amount of caffeine that one will take in those 2 cups is not enough to cause side effects of caffeine. Okay. So controlling the quantity is the key behind.
Right. And since you mentioned lactose, so there is something called lactose free milks available in the market.
Yeah. So what happens is, first of all, when I've said this, let me put a brief about what is lactose allergy. So lactose is milk sugar, which is naturally present in milk. Some of us, and our body has enzymes to digest that sugar. Okay. Some of us have that enzyme a little less. Money, we are deficient in that enzyme. Okay. Such people will develop abdominal discomfort, sometimes diarrhea, sometimes bloating whenever they consume milk. So a lactose-free milk will either have this lactose, processed and removed out, or it will have that lactose pre-digested. So they add enzymes to the milk, and those enzymes digest this sugar, and then if you consume that milk, it won't give you the symptoms.
All right. So another question is again from Rohit ji. He wanted to ask, I've been told that salad or fruit can cause infection when they are consumed raw.
So the answer, I think, is no. Not all salads and fruits and vegetables will give you infection if they are consumed raw. They will give you infection if they are cut and kept for a long time, if you have not washed them properly, if you are consuming it from somewhere outside where you don't know about its hygiene part. You need to wash your vegetables thoroughly, remove skin and consume if you're newly transplanted. Only wash and consume if your transplant is, say, 1 year old or so, or more than that. Another thing which you need to understand is whatever is raw, you need to preferably consume it immediately. So as a traditional practice, when we are preparing our food, साथ में salad cut करके fridge में रख देते हैं, say सुबह 10 बजे and lunch हो रहा है 1 बजे. That cannot happen for transplantation. If you're consuming your lunch at 1 o'clock, it better be prepared at 12:30, 12:45, and you consume it with your lunch. So that's the idea. Fruits and vegetables per se cannot give you infection. It is the hygiene and cleaning part of it. Also, you need to take care the quality of fruits and vegetables that you're buying. So, अगर fruit पे ऊपर overripe brown colored patches है, you need to avoid that. Fresh fruits and vegetables which do not have these overripe patches and browning should be considered.
So, like if carrots are clearly washed, like orange ones or the seasonal ones, we
or
can
anyone, yeah.
That is,
yes,
so we can...
yes. So you need to remove the peel, wash it nicely, prepare it well, and then definitely.
Okay. So another question is from
Rajnikant ma'am.
हाँ जी बोलिए मिस्टर रजनीकांत.
नमस्ते मैम.
He's a lung recipient. बोलिए रजनीकांत.
एक्चुअली मुझे इधर कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स हो रहे हैं क्या कि मैं जब लंच ले रहा हूँ तो लंच लेने के 2 या 2.5 घंटे के बाद मुझे फिर ये पूरी भूख लग जा रहा है. तो उस पीरियड में फिर मैं क्या लूँ?
मुझे भी लंच के 2-2.5 घंटे बाद बहुत भूख लगती है रजनीकांत जी. This is not related to your lung transplant. This is normal body physiology. And maybe because you're taking steroids, you may have slightly higher, hunger index. What you can do is, आपका जो fruits है, salad है, nuts वगैरह है, वो आप खाने के बाद बीच में ले सकते हैं. तो इवनिंग में जब भूख लगा, 4-5-6 बादाम, 3-4 टुकड़ा अखरोट का, 2-3 पिस्ता, 4-5 किशमिश, ये सब मिक्स करके एक मुट्ठी बंद हो जाए, उतना नट्स आप ले सकते हो. दैट्स अ गुड स्नैक. या फिर आप 5-6 पीसेस पनीर के उसको अच्छे से ग्रिल वॉश करके कुक करके स्नैक की तरह ले सकते हो. आप जो ऑयल सीड्स होते हैं, फ्लैक्स सीड, पंपकिन सीड, शिया सीड्स, इनको रोस्ट करके बॉटल भर के रख दीजिए, उसका 1 चम्मच ले सकते हैं. दीज आर ऑल हेल्दी स्नैकिंग ऑप्शन.
I think Dr.
Okay.
Sushil Kumar also had some query. He
Yeah,
had
I
raised the
saw a
same
raised
thing, yeah.
hand from his side.
Dr. Sushil Kumar?
Hi, yes, ma'am. Ma'am, what about the fruits like cherry and lychee?
So, lychees, unfortunately, a couple of years back, there were, a breakout of food poisoning reported from lychee, which is not there now. So, unless you're thinking of that food poisoning breakout in I think some.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Actually, no, ma'am. I'm not on that page. Say because lychee changes the tacrolimus level. So, in that context, it changes the TAC level.
Okay, so I'm not sure about this. As I said, if you Google, there will be a lot of fruits and vegetables which they will say interfere with tacrolimus. Whatever research and evidence we have is with star fruit and grapefruit. Okay. About lychees, is this a Google information or there is a paper published or there's research to support it? I mean, I'm trying to understand the source of this information.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I have lychees. I have lychees and cherries. I am a kidney recipient, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are taking lychees, eh?
But have in moderation.
Are you on the?
थोड़ा तो खा सकते हैं.
Yes, of course, ma'am. थोड़ा बहुत ही just कभी बच्चे का मन करे. Ma'am, are you on the tacrolimus? Ma'am, tacrolimus पे हैं?
हाँ जी.
आप tacrolimus लेते हैं? Okay.
In fact, kidney recipients have maximum amount of immunosuppression of the organs, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, anything. I think in moderation should not be.
You can take, unless you have read a research paper about it. अगर ये Google से information है, तो no, definitely no.
I check it. I think I read in that brochure in a TAC drug, but I'm not sure. Because it came to mind a few years back. So at the moment, I'm aware of the.
If you're able to find it, you can share that information with us. But for now, I think it's all right to consume lychees and raw mangoes. No problem.
So Devan, you were saying something?
Berries, ma'am.
For his satisfaction, I have lychee and mango trees at home. So,
Mr. Devan is a liver recipient.
So I consume lychees like anything because we get a crop of about 100 kgs in just 20 days.
When can we visit your farm?
Yes, ma'am.
Come over today. Where are you?
She's in Mumbai. Mr. Devan is in Chandigarh.
Oh God. But I will visit your farm.
मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ कि हम हेलो
Yes.
मैम मैं ये बोल रहा हूँ कि हम लोगों को जैसे हमारे जो डाइटिशियन मैम हैं उन्होंने 1 year तक फ्रूट्स को बोला है कि आप रिस्ट्रिक्टेड है, आप नहीं ले सकते हैं.
So that's what I said. फ्रूट आप ले सकते हो, बट आपको उसमें वॉशिंग का, क्लीनिंग का ध्यान रखना है. किसी फ्रूट पे या सब्जी पे अगर ब्राउन पैच आया है, वो बहुत ज्यादा पका है या थोड़ा थोड़ा सड़ने लगा है, वो आपको अवॉइड करना है. बट अदरवाइज छिलका निकाल के अच्छे से वॉश करके फ्रूट्स आप ले सकते हो.
Could I ask you a couple of questions, Pooja?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I'm an aged person, crossed 73 just now. So my appetite has gone down a little. I can't consume these 5 servings that you speak of, like 5 chapatis a day. No way. Max is 3, And secondly, the entire intake portion is reduced. So I can't eat too much so that my stomach gets over full. I don't like it at all. And I'm not weighty, I'm slim. But a few things that I wanted to ask you. My potassium goes down. That is, if I did not take pot chlor every day twice, doctor has advised it, then it would probably go down below 3.5. And I know that that's not good. So I try to keep it between 3.7 to 9, even 4. Secondly, my chloride seems to be coming down. And everybody tells us to reduce our salt intake. But if I reduce my salt intake, which is not high, but I find my sodium goes down. So it looks like that somewhere I need something which will keep a balance in the electrolytes.
Okay. So I'll go one by one. So number one, when you talk about having a lower appetite and not being able to eat too much, that's quite natural because with age, the appetite does come down. And also it depends upon the amount of activity that you're doing. Number one. So if you're not able to eat too much, what you can do is try and add density to the food that you're able to eat. What I mean is, when, for example, when you're kneading your roti ka dough, so aata lagate samay, instead of using water, maybe you can use milk, very little milk, or maybe curd to knead flour. That will add a little more nutritional value to it. When you're getting your roti ka flour, you can mix one part of soy. So 10 kg wheat, 1 kg soy is a good proportion to enhance the protein value. When you're consuming curd, instead of consuming as it is, you can add a little fruit puree or vegetable puree to it. So that's mixing 1 or 2 food groups in the same amount to enhance your nutritional intake. Okay. Coming to your second question, which is potassium, I think enlisting the sources right away, you may not be able to remember. So I'll share a list with Jaya. It has at least 50 to 60 regular food options included, in which you can choose which one is low, which one is moderate, and which one is high, and consume those high potassium sources so that your potassium is well maintained. Again, I would not advise you to stop pot chlor when you're making these changes in the diet. You need to stop it only when your potassium is stabilized, and that too, do it a little gradually. So for example, after making changes in the diet for a couple of weeks, if your potassium is stable, you can reduce your pot chlor to once a day, and then, stop it completely, maybe after another 10 to 12 days, once your potassium is continuing to be stable. Okay, so that list I'll share with Jaya, and Jaya or maybe, the team members can circulate it with you. To name a few, your green leafy vegetables and your, deep red to yellow orange fruits are generally good potassium sources, especially when you consume them raw. So consuming green leafy vegetables in raw form, the best option are your mint and coriander chutneys that you consume raw. It is flavorful and you can consume a good portion of green leafy vegetables in that. You can add green leafy vegetables to your parathas, to your sandwiches, to your idlis and your chilas. So that way they are not overcooked and they don't lose potassium. The problem with potassium is when you cook, when you wash, when you chop them, a lot of it is lost. Okay. So this was about potassium. About chloride, unfortunately, through the diet, it can't help much. Sodium chloride, the regular salt, is the option. When you're unsure about maintaining your salt intake, what you can do is for a few days, so I feel you can consume 4 to 5 grams of salt every day. That is fine. you measure that salt and keep it with you, and use your, the salt that you're adding to food from that measured salt. If you're sticking to 4 to 5 grams every day, it should take care of, most of your electrolyte requirements. If still it's not working out, maybe we can connect separately and then, discuss on this. So, and again, fruits, vegetables, at least, if not 5, at least 3 servings also, if you include every day, they are good source of electrolytes. That will take care of your electrolyte requirement overall. I hope that helps.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I also wanted to ask you, fish has always interfered with my TAC level. So, because it has interfered with my tactile levels. In one instance, it brought it down to 3.1. The next day I was tested. And in another, I had taken, and 5 days later was my test. It shot up to 13.5. So now I've abandoned the thought of taking fish because I find somewhere there's a connection and I don't want to rock the boat.
So I think maybe this was an unfortunate coincidence where, you had consumed fish one day and the next day your TAC levels were abnormal. But we don't have any evidence that suggests that fish intake interferes with immune suppression functions anyway. There's no evidence to support this. I think this has been, as I said, a coincidence. And again, when it comes to food, foods I feel are not so powerful to bring down or elevate any blood test so drastically. You have to keep consuming a lot of grapefruit pretty regularly for it to interfere with your TAC immune suppression. And the same goes with star fruit. So consuming fish today, 1 or 2 pieces, TAC level going down the other day, I feel it's just a coincidence, an unfortunate one.
No, the second time it shot up after 5 days to 13.5. And I was on a
because you must have modified your TAC dose, no, when it came down.
No, that was different. I mean, every month I get it tested. So I found some connection. I felt, as I said, I used to love fish earlier, but now I have kind of moved away from it.
Again, I will emphasize that there's no evidence. If that has been your individual, observation, I would like to leave the choice with you. But from my side, it's not restricted.
What is your take on pomegranate? Because I took pomegranate and I had taken it earlier, but one day after lunch, I took just half of it. And I felt really, really sick, and it was a good piece. I don't take, something which is overripe or something like that. But I could not explain the kind of turmoil that underwent in my system. And I posted a question, and then somebody wrote back saying that pomegranate is not allowed to heart transplant recipients.
Again, I would say not really. These are probably incidences that have somehow landed with your food intake. Feeling uneasy, having some sort of unexplained malaise can be related to many other things. For example, a transient high blood pressure, a transient low blood pressure, a transient dehydration, which usually is self-resolving. But by the time your body is able to act upon it, you start relating it with a lot of things. So I would not want to outright tell you that pomegranates are bad for heart transplant patients. You can consume it. I feel these are probably mismatches which have unfortunately started relating with your diet.
Okay.
Pooja, so I did read somewhere that pomegranates, grapefruit, star fruit, so there is some literature around that it interferes with the TAC level. So even I have stopped eating pomegranates since I read that somewhere. So if you could just look that up.
So see, what happens is, as I said, for example, there is a clinician who's done a study with 50 patients in his clinic. and found something. Now that doesn't universalize the findings, because you need to, retest it in a larger population. Also, you need to see that in that study, what was the inclusion, what was the exclusion, how did they do it. So, as I said, we've advanced a lot in terms of the information that is available. What is required is to know what kind of information to trust. About this pomegranate part, maybe I'll look up again, but the confirmed research is definitely for grapefruit and starfruit. Pomegranates, we can always, read up and put this through the group members.
What about grapes? They are so thin-skinned, and black grapes have lots of pesticide on them.
So you need to again take care of the cleaning part of it. Maybe you can take lukewarm water, leave your grapes in that lukewarm water for good half an hour, and then wash it with under tap water for 2 or 3 times, and then consume it. It may not be a very good choice for the ones who've been recently transplanted. The ones with a stabilized immune suppressor and a stabilized function can wash it nicely and consume.
Thanks.
There are a few more queries, I think, in the chat box.
Yeah.
So, yeah, few more questions in chat box. Mr. Abhishek is asking that I'm 6 years post-transplant, but past 3-4 months, he's coming under the bracket of pre-diabetic in his blood reports. So is it something to be concerned of, and what precautions he need to take?
So see, becoming a pre-diabetic is not only related to your transplant, it could be related to your lifestyle, your eating habits, how has COVID affected your activity levels. We are seeing a lot of upcoming pre-diabetes and diabetes because of lower physical activity and erratic eating patterns that the pandemic brought in. So as of now, I can only say that maybe you can, work on your physical activity, try to balance your diet, reduce the refined flour and packaged food intake. That should help. But of course, if your blood tests are coming in a pre-diabetic level for quite some time, then maybe we can connect separately and look at what's going on. But it may certainly not be related to your transplant per se.
Another question is how safe it is to consume raw slices of onion?
Again, it's a salad. If you're consuming it raw, it's part of your salad. Recently transplanted, wash, eat immediately, take care of the hygiene. If you're long-term post-transplant, you can live the life a little. Goes for most vegetable salads.
Dr. Sushil is asking that his daughter is 16 years old, 3 years post-heart transplant. Can they have a meal in good chain restaurant?
Yeah, so now over here it's tricky because you need to be very, very well informed about their hygiene practices. Maybe talk to them that, you have this particular concern, and make sure that because even when you're consuming cooked food in restaurants, you don't know when was the pre-preparation done. So yeah, that's a concern. Going forward, I think it's got a lot of, because out in the UK, US, you have restaurants with certifications for serving neutropenic diets, for serving restrictive diets like gluten-free, etc. Over here, India, it's still, I would say, developing. So you need to do that background work and probably talk to the team about your concerns.
So another question is, how safe is RO water? Because the canned water gives a bloating to some of the patients, some of the recipients.
So I think, see, again, if you have experienced a certain symptom time and again, first of all, any symptom you should try to test it. So आज अगर आपने for a change RO water लिया and you had bloating, which I feel is not related, but if you feel it is related to your water, test it again. If it keeps happening twice, thrice when you test it, go back to boiled water. It could be, see, not everybody behaves and every individual will respond or behave similarly to everything. If you are not comfortable and you're getting symptoms with RO water, you can go back to boiled water. From my side, I would say it cannot be related.
मैम
I-
रजनीकांत
Yes.
मैम
Yes.
अटैक लेवल अभी रिसेंटली मेरा अटैक लेवल 25.5 हो गया था और फिर 11.5 हो गया, अभी 13.5 है और सबसे डाउन मेरा 4.5 था। तो ये फ्लक्चुएट होने का रीजन क्या है?
I'm sorry, this is, a bit too, this is not per se related to your nutrition. आप अपने physician से या surgeon से बात कीजिए. They are the right people to help you with this. I won't be able to help you with
आपके
that.
मेडिसिन के डोसेस एडजस्ट करने पड़ेंगे, तो ये आपके डॉक्टर ही आपको सही तरीके से बताएंगे।
इसमें डाइट से कोई लेना देना नहीं है?
Not really.
Okay, thank you ma'am.
Yeah.
I think there's a question from Shalini also. My husband's creatine is usually borderline around 1.3. How can we manage it?
So see, for example, every individual post kidney transplant will have a baseline creatinine, and it is different. Okay, so for some, even 2 is normal. They will always have their creatinine at 2. For some, 0.9 to 1, it comes back to the normal range. If your husband has always had creatinine level of 1.3, then you need not worry about it. If it has shot up in past some time only, then we need to, go a little further, to go a step further and see what is going wrong. It could be hydration, it could be related to kidney function, it could be, many other factors. It's not really related to your food intake or protein intake, if that's what your question is. Again, as I said, हो सकता है उनका baseline इतना ही हो. So you don't have to worry about it. I think again over here, आप आपके doctor से पहले बात कीजिए. And if they feel there is something going wrong nutritionally, you can always get in touch with them.
Also, Pooja ma'am, I have this question. Like when COVID was there were few sprays available that people used to spray over vegetables they used to get and then soak it in water. Are these sprays safe to use for transport?
So first of all, if you're doing the washing and cleaning properly, I don't think you need it. These were just products which saw a gap in the market, got launched, and because of the situation, they had good market and sales. Washing vegetables with your traditional ways is enough. Okay. About their safety for transplant patients, we don't have any evidence, we don't have any guidelines, so I wouldn't recommend. Use your traditional ways of washing it.
Okay. And what about some cooked meals which are there in refrigerators, or some curd? We take it and we consume it sometime directly. So is it safe, or we need to keep it out for some time, especially curd, and then use it?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. Curd, if it is too sour, then probably no. Okay. If you have your curd which was prepared more than 24 hours before, then no. Okay. For foods kept inside the refrigerator and reheated and consumed, I would say try to avoid for the first year post-transplant. From second year onwards, you again need to reheating is a very, very tricky thing. Okay, there is a lot of scope for bacteria to grow if you're using a reheated food, especially if the reheating is not, proper. So your food has to be thoroughly reheated, almost, to the cooking temperature again for it to be safe and free from any bacterial inoculation. So the answer to this is try to consume fresh food as much as possible. No reheating for the first year post-transplant. After 1 year or after your immune suppression has stabilized, you can reheat, but you have to be very, very thorough with the temperatures that you're achieving. And again, consume hot.
Okay.
There's one more query from Poonam. I'm a diabetic post-transplant. She's a kidney recipient. She has sugar spikes in the afternoon. Any cereal consumption increases her sugar, so only veggies and lentils would help. Oh, she's sharing, I think.
I'm not too much in favor of it because cutting down cereals altogether, reduces not only your caloric intake, it brings down your fiber intake and the other micronutrients that we were mentioning in our presentation. Again, up cereals, more than the time and quantity, type, what matters is what kind and how much are you taking. So अगर आपका पूरे दिन का cereal intake is more than what you need, then probably you need to bring it down. And I would suggest rather than stopping it completely, you can probably space it out. So अगर आप lunch or dinner दोनों में दो रोटीज खा रहे हैं, maybe you can make it 1 or 1.5 both meals, rather than eating no roti for lunch and eating 2 or 3 rotis for dinner. Not a good idea. Again, it may not be related to your cereals per se. So probably over here, you need a bit of evaluation and you can connect with us separately.
Mr. Devan wants to know how safe is taking protein supplements like whey protein post-transplant, where
So
S protein remains low. What is S protein? I don't know.
I
Okay.
can't find this very, okay.
It's
Whey
the
protein,
latest.
serum protein.
Sorry.
So, yeah. So now I would say serum proteins is not a lot related to your protein intake per se. We don't rely on albumin and serum total proteins anymore. They are more of inflammatory markers and stuff. You can take protein supplements if your dietary protein intake is low. So if you're not able to achieve that 1.2 to 1.5 through your diet, say your appetite is low or you're a vegetarian or you're working and you don't have these options handy, then yes, you can take a protein supplement, but you need to know the right dose for you. So do that little bit math that we just talked about and it should be a good option.
Right. Any more questions?
Yeah. Is it advisable to eat out once in a while?
You can, but as I just mentioned, it's a little tricky, especially in India, to be sure about the background of that place. If you're eating in a good quality restaurant, you can talk to the team and let them know that you're a transplant recipient and you cannot compromise on the hygiene part of it. But so far in India, because we do not have strict, certification, quality checks and all of that, it's a little tricky. Places that you're sure of will take care of the hygiene and sanitation part, please enjoy your favorite delicacy.
So we do eat outside once in a while. Don't eat food which is sitting outside. Speak to the chef. Call for the chef, speak to the chef and specifically tell them your condition. They're very appreciative of it. And tell them that you need something which is freshly prepared. So stuff like,
and they do it.
They do it. Stuff like curries, dals, and rotis or rice, whatever. All that they can easily freshly make it and give it. Avoid salads and all that and eat out.
Yeah, and always eating an a la carte, consuming from an a la carte menu is better than choosing upon a buffet.
I think the best way is to forget that you are a transplant patient.
Yes. Live life.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a good one.
Pooja, one more, in this flat of mine, although it's a very good society, but we don't get drinking water in the flat, which means that it comes from downstairs. Somebody has to get a can. And I can't drink that water, nor can I trust my maid to boil it for me, because she might boil it and something unhygienic might intervene. So I have shifted to bottled water. Is that okay? Or does that cause some depletion in minerals, as I was told by someone?
Not really. In fact, these bottled and packaged mineral water bottles are these days being enriched with minerals. Okay. So I don't think that could be a problem. You can continue if there are these practical issues.
Yeah, fine. Okay, thank you.
How about black water, which is so trending these days?
no science and not like, I don't know what to say. I mean, you wake up every morning and there is something new happening in the nutrition industry, in the diet, food and drink industry. It's evolving so much every day. You get something new every day. I would recommend that, unless you know that there is evidence, unless you know it as some science, please don't get inclined.
I read it.
Marketing is all backed with it, but look for products and advices which are backed by science.
Because I read it somewhere in an article, it was article, not research, that these water are filled with actually been the minerals and nutrients actually been infused in that. So I was inquisitive about that.
Maybe they are enriched with minerals, as I just said, but then the catch here is, do you need so much minerals?
Right.
Do you need, micronutrients, calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, selenium? They are required in very, very micro amounts, and hence they are called as micronutrients.
Right.
Do you need it?
No, there is a difference between packaged water, the bottled water, and the mineral
And
water.
mineral water, yes.
The packaged water is RO water, where they try to inject some minerals to bring up the TDS. If you understand TDS, it is the total dissolved solids, that is the minerals in the water. And if you test the TDS of Bisleri or Kinley or these bottled water, it is around 30, which is
very
not,
high.
which is not acceptable, which is very low. The WHO says 500 is potable.
No, you're talking about 30 ppm or you're talking about some other unit?
30 ppm. The TDS
so
is
30 ppm. So there's a catch here again. 30 ppm in how much water, and how much water are you consuming?
So 30 ppm is not how much water, it is the ppm of that particular water sample. So it can be 300 liters of water. But then these people, they maintain 30 ppm of TDS, that is Bisleri, Kinley, and these should be avoided. Even if you have a RO system at home, one should get the TDS adjusted to at least 100-150 ppm instead of keeping it very low.
So that's what I'm trying to say. When you say 30 ppm, so much water, how much is your water consumption? When are you consuming that water? All these things, these are very, very minute details. We don't have much data. Nobody understands these labeling laws so well. I really appreciate that you know about Bisleri, Kinley, the difference between packaged and mineral water. But how many people really understand that?
They don't know.
Yes. Correct. So a blanket over a statement over here, or a simpler statement over here is, when you do, like Mrs. Vinay has this issue, when you do not have access to clean water, you're facing issues with the hygiene and sanitation part of your water, it's a good idea to consume packaged water and not think that it will give you minerals or it will deplete your body's minerals. If we get into these tiny bit details, not everyone will be able to understand and comprehend them that well, the way you do.
Okay, we are running out of time. There's one more question. Priya wants to know, hi, how do we need to sterilize the utensils before we use them? Do we need to sterilize them, Pooja?
If they are well washed, just wash them in running water before you're using, and then use it.
Rajnikant ji wants to know, at present my hemoglobin is 11. How do I increase this?
I don't think we have time to address this, but just in one line, hemoglobin is not only iron intake. Your dietary iron, vitamin C, protein, vitamin B12, folic acid, all this needs to be balanced out for your hemoglobin to be better. So maybe you can connect with us separately.
So ऐसे कुछ specific queries है, maybe y'all can connect with Pooja separately. I can share Pooja's contacts with y'all separately, and y'all can get in touch with Pooja for any specific advice. अपने डॉक्टर से भी एक बार बात कर लीजिएगा अगर आपका हेमोग्लोबिन लो है, क्योंकि they might also suggest some supplements, right, Pooja?
Yes. Another question I see is 2 years back, the heart transplant was done. Now the patient can eat cucumber and carrot or no? Yes, you can eat carrot and cucumber. अच्छे से छिलका निकालिए, साफ कीजिए और consume कीजिए. No problem.
All right.
So-
What we'll do now, Ganesh, you can stop the live streaming.